Hello, everybody. Welcome into my latest live broadcast today. Well, today it is the 10th of June. It's Saturday, and it's 2023. My name is CareyHolzman. It looks like YouTube has been starting our videos late for some reason. I did not see the intro go by. Chat room, did you guys see an intro? This started yesterday when we did the cube build. We missed the first 10 minutes of the show, even though we did everything correctly. Doman, Gary Tatum, they say yes. Rick Lake says no. That's pretty interesting. Patrick says that intro was sick. Well, in case you missed it, my sister puts a lot of time and effort into these intros, so we're going to roll that intro one more time for those of you who missed it, and we'll start the show one more time. So here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome into my latest live broadcast. My name is CareyHolzman, and this is Camera Girl.
Hi, Camera Girl, otherwise known as Marlena.
Otherwise known as Mara. Otherwise known as that chick. Today, we have a very special show for you because Mara has graciously brought her Synology NAS in so we can upgrade the DSM to show you how the operating system gets updated manually. There's a new version, 7.2, that was just released, and it'll eventually probably come in automatically in time. It's not a beta, but in order to get all the bells, whistles, and features today, you have to do the upgrade manually. We're going to show you how to do that. Also, for whatever reason, Synology doesn't make too many units with 2.5 gig internet. You'd think that, or 2.5 gig Ethernet, and you'd think that would be something pretty common on a NAS, network attached storage. But thankfully, the nerds online have created their own driver package for certain brands or chipsets of 2.5 gig USB Ethernet adapters to work on all a family of Synology products, most of them. And I'm going to show you how that's done because I haven't found a video yet that walks you through it. I've seen where they talk about it and I've seen articles about it. But now that I've done it to my own NAS, I have to do it with this other one. And I have to say, Camera Girl was like, hey, I got stuff on there. You better not lose my stuff. So we're not even going to look on there. I don't care what's on there. I've never, ever lost data on a Synology NAS. I always use Synology's hybrid RAID. And the reason I use it is it's so robust. So if we lose everything, it'll be the first time it ever happened.
Yeah, I won't be happy.
We won't lose anything. Despite all of the disclaimers regarding upgrading your Synology operating system, make sure you back up everything, and it could take 10 minutes or longer. I've never had it take more than a couple of minutes, and that's because I don't really use any of the apps. I don't think you use any of the apps. This is just file storage.
That's correct.
And so when you upgrade your Synology operating system, it also has to update all those apps, and that can take a while, especially if you're using a lot of apps. The more apps you're using, the longer it's going to take. And then you should also check for any app updates after your operating system update to ensure that your apps that you use continue to work. For us, we don't use the apps, so maybe maybe that'll change one day. So this is what, a Synology
DS 418.
418. So it's a 4-bay Synology. We've got 4 20 terabyte drives in it.
Yes.
In a RAID 5, so let's give 20, 40, 60 terabytes with
Correct.
one failover. So that means if any of the 4 drives die, the unit continues to work exactly the same, only it'll have a red light on the failed drive on that bay. It'll kick out a message to you and say, hey, you got a bad drive, and then you shouldn't dilly-dally. You should get it replaced, whether it's a warranty return or you just have another one you pop in there, another 20 terabyte drive. Because if another drive fails, so if you put it off, 6 months goes by or a year goes by and you still haven't gotten around to it, and then you suffer another drive failure. So out of the 4 drives, you now lost 2, stuff is gone. It's gone. So whenever you get that notification that the drive has failed, you don't necessarily have to change it within minutes, but you should make it a priority to get it done. If the drive is under warranty, go online to the manufacturer's website, fill out the RMA request. You'll be fine for a couple of weeks, probably.
I always have a spare.
Or keep a spare drive that matches the same make and model and size as the others. And you pop your spare in, it automatically rebuilds. This has no impact on your ability to use the unit. It does all of this in the background. And then when you get the bad drive returned or replaced, keep it as your spare. Or if you're a little more risk taking, it's okay, in my experience, to go a few weeks if you need to send in the time it takes to get the RMA, mail it in. It's usually about 2 to 3 weeks in total, and then pop the drive in there, and then it'll rebuild in the background. Like I said, you won't notice any difference in performance, which may give you a false sense of security that you don't need to prioritize getting the unit, getting the bad drive replaced. But couldn't be further from the truth, because you've just lost your backup, essentially. You've lost your safety net. Like I think of a trapeze artist not working with a safety net. And that might be okay for a few minutes, probably not, but if you had to suffer a few minutes where they perhaps had to replace the net or fix the net, you want that time to be as minimal as possible, because if you fall, well, the net is removed, it's not going to be good. And so that fourth drive, whichever of the four that fails, that is your safety net. And so it's important to put that safety net back as soon as you can. Hello, everybody in blue, and our good friend, let's see, Peter Laycock joins us and contributes 10 pounds. He says hello, Carey and Marlena, and everyone in the chat. Hello, Buster.
I'm going to give you some time.
Rick Lakes contributes $5, says hello, Carey and Marlena. Hello, Rick. Thank you for your contribution. Alaj Depej was now been a member for 6 months. He says, hello, Carey and Camera Lady. Today is my second day using my new Ace Magician AD15 mini PC. All I will say is I love it. Keep up the good work. Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, love to hear back from you, and as you get familiar and comfortable with it, keep us informed on how things are going with the AD15. Ryan One Full in Canada with $1.10 in super chat. Thank you, Ryan. And Mark Gaines, now a member for 13 months. You know what? I think that's the very first time I've ever seen 13 months. It still shows 12, but
Oh, yeah.
Mark joins us from Northern Ireland. He says, good evening, Carey and Marlena. Good evening. Well, yeah, I guess it's 8 or 9 hours ahead over there. Abdul Azim Patel, hey, there he is. I haven't seen him in a while, with $1.99 contributed, and also is a member for 13 months. Wow, this must be the day. That is awesome. So we have 2 members in here for 13 months. How cool is that? Thanks, you guys, for being members and supporting the channel so we can remain independent of the things we want to review and the things we want to say in our reviews. Patrick Manny, also a member for 13 months. Look at that. We got 3 of them today. That is awesome. Gary Tatum wants to know, did you get the cube squared away? I went online to Amazon. I ordered a fan, which is a 6-pin fan, which I hope is going to work. I think the benefit of the fact that a large section of Chinese manufacturing doesn't respect intellectual property, and they just copy what other companies have done and invented. I'm hoping there won't be any incompatibility with the RGB and the 6-pin layout, because they just copy each other. That's the good thing about copying instead of being innovative, is that the proprietary nature of a 6-pin fan that was difficult to find, by the way. In theory, they should all be the same because they all just copy each other. That's what I'm getting at. Larry Wood contributes $20 in Super Chat. Thank you, Larry. Luke Greenia joins us. Mark Baggett's joining us. Mats Olav Rickardson joins us from Sweden. Still enjoying the Spotify documentary that was on Netflix Sweden. And it's pretty interesting how there's certain English words, I guess they don't have Swedish words. So every once in a while, I can actually make out what they say. And also, when they talk to other Americans, they speak English and you don't hear any accent at all, which is, wow. A lot of things I don't know about Sweden. Pirate Bay is from Sweden. And ABBA is from Sweden. IKEA furniture from Sweden. And The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, that whole series is a Swedish author. What was his name? Stig Larsson. And yeah, I'm getting my my Swede on. I am making Camera Girl watch the Spotify documentary. You're about 3 episodes
I
in.
like it.
It's real. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah. It's really good.
And the BlackBerry movie,
Yeah.
kind of low budget,
Yep.
still very interesting. And
Yeah.
apparently, a lot went on with BlackBerry that could have made that movie 3 times longer. So
Yeah.
they don't tell the whole story, but it's still worth watching if you're interested. Koenigsegg is from Sweden. Oh, that's true. Yes, yeah, the supercar manufacturer Koenigsegg. David Ice says hello. Bobby Warren says, talking to John Williams, he says, I got my Spectrum bill in the mail today. It's $291. I have all the channels like the movie channels. Wow, that's a lot of money to spend every month. $291, there's 12 months. So that's going to be somewhere around $3,400 a year. Ooh, it's a lot for entertainment. Trevor says, good morning from Australia. I thought you said g'day. Welcome in. Starshine says, how about Swede? Is that a TV show? Matthew Burton is now a member for 13 months. Hey, that's the 4th one today. Says, I don't want to feel left out. LOL, just wanted to say good afternoon. Hey, thank you, Matthew. Thank you for your continued support. Now, when we talk about upgrading the network to 2.5 gig, or if you see anything online, whether it's YouTube or anything else talking about 2.5 gig switches, 5 gig, 10 gig, this does not make your internet faster. This is for making the communication between the computers in your house or in your building, transferring files back and forth happens faster. So in the case of like a business and you've got a lot of people accessing data at the same time, you need that added bandwidth to handle the amount of added traffic. Or in my case, I'm dealing with big 4K rendered 3-hour files, 3 hours of YouTube video that I upscale to 4K and then re-upload, and they're about 60 gigs. And I save those files to my network attached storage. And copying that 60 gig file off of the computer that rendered it over to the NAS on a 1 gigabit network, it takes a while. It takes a couple minutes. And it's not a big deal if you don't do it very often, but I do it a lot. And if I can take a 10-minute file transfer down to 5 minutes, all the better. This will not help me with my wireless connection on my laptop. That's still limited by the wireless speed. But going from, let's say, a wired computer like the streamer over here to the wired NAS, if they're both plugged into a 2.5 gig switch, then I'm going to start moving data 2.5 times faster, either from the NAS or to the NAS. And that's only going to occur in the building. Outside of the building, I'm limited to the speed of my internet. And if you want faster internet, that's real easy. You call up your internet provider and say, what's a faster speed and how much is it? And you give them some more money in most cases, and you go faster on your internet. So this is not for making your internet faster. This may have no appeal to you whatsoever. A lot of us have a network attached storage device. If you're a photographer, you want to have your own cloud, if you will, put your files on your own little storage device that you can access over the internet. That's possible with the Synology or other network attached storage devices. Or in my case, I'm saving all of my YouTube content, and it's 60 gigs per video, and I've got over 1,500 videos, although they haven't gotten to be this size until the last couple of years as 4K has become more prevalent. Those file sizes are quickly eating up my space on my Synology. And again, moving the files around, whether I want to copy them over to the streamer or if I want to copy them from the streamer, it takes a few minutes because it's a 1 gig standard internet network that I have here in the building. So to upgrade that to 2.5, I thought would be a fun experiment and see, instead of copying a couple of files and walking away to do something else or minimizing it and opening up another screen and watching a YouTube video, well, that happens in the background. I could literally now just watch it, in theory, just move across the network. It's going to go 2.5 times faster. So why these Synology units aren't just stock with a 2.5 gig network connection, I don't understand, especially when even some of the cheapest motherboards on the new builds we're doing, and even the mini PCs, even on the cheap ones, are including 2.5 gig Ethernet ports, which won't do you any good if there's nothing else inside of your home at 2.5 gig, or if you're wireless, or if you don't have a 2.5 gig switch. Because of that new TP-Link Wi-Fi 7 router that I recently purchased, I've been using it ever since I made the video. I'm loving it. It's all 2.5 gig networking on the back, and I think there's 2 10 gig ports. And maybe someday I'll try the 10 gig ports out, but for right now, baby steps, we'll start with 2.5. And honestly, I think the 10 gig is going to be overkill for me, because at that point, I don't think the hard drives are going to be able to write any faster. But then maybe the Flash Store 6 from ASUS.
Yeah.
Although I think it's only the 12 bay one that has 10 gig. We only have the 6 bay.
Still an upgrade option.
Okay, so I brought out this little HP mini PC, and we will be doing more giveaways for those here very soon. I promise it's coming. And we're going to use this to communicate with this, because this computer's on an entirely different network. We can't use this one for that. Are you with me? So first of all, let's talk about the unit we have. And I've got all the links for everything I'm going to describe in the video, or that you need to download or provide information to you if you have a Synology NAS that you want to do this upgrade to, whether it's just the DSM upgrade, which I highly recommend, or you also want to add 2.5 gig with a USB dongle. And those links are in my video notes below this video. Ben Laird contributes £5. Ben also watches us from Scotland. Thank you, Ben. Matt Soloff says you should read the books, Millennium. They're better than the movie. Well, the book's always better, right? Mm-hmm. When is a movie ever better than a book? Ready Player One is a much better book. The Martian is a much better book. Dune is a much better. I don't know. Have I seen anything by Stephen King that I've liked? The Running Man. Stephen King wrote that under a pen name. But Richard Dawson and Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was a short story by Stephen King, and he didn't put his name on it. He used a pen name. I don't think I like any other Stephen King stuff. I didn't care for Carey or Maximum Overdrive.
Well, but the movies were not as good.
Yeah, I'm not into horror, though.
Yeah, but
I'm not into Saw. Do you like Saw?
Clive Barker.
Clive Barker, yeah. Mm-hmm. Pinhead guy?
Yeah, Hellraiser.
Hellraiser, yeah. If I'm not there, start without me. So the Synology DS418.
DS418.
Let me turn on my screen capture. We'll take a look. Is this still being sold today? Still available? Let's go window capture. Oh, that's not working. Hold on a minute. I've got to select the window to capture here. There it is. $453. It's actually not too bad. You consider you're getting a full computer in 4 bays. You have to provide your own disks. This is diskless, and you definitely want NAS rated drives. That's Western Digital Reds or Seagate Iron Wolves. I like the Seagate Iron Wolves myself, and there's some concern that some of the Western Digital Reds are the SMR technology, which is not supposed to go in a RAID. However, or a NAS, they're not all that way. It varies depending on which Western Digital Red you're buying. Now, for me, I like the Seagate Iron Wolves. I've never seen a bad Seagate Iron Wolf. I've been using them for a few years now. I've got a couple of 12 terabyte drives over at Studio A in my Synology NAS, which is a 2-drive. I think it's a 918. And this one is a 418. And yes, this is what it looks like. And I bet you could probably find these cheaper on eBay at this point. I wouldn't hesitate to buy one of these used. So the first thing we want to do is get this powered up. So let me go back over to camera 1. There I am. And I've got the power supply here. And let's see, I got to plug in a network cable and plug in power, and then we turn it on. Give it about 2 minutes to fire up, and then it's on the network, available as a network share. And essentially, it's like having a big USB drive, except it's accessible from any computer, wired or wireless, anywhere in the building. And if you download the app, you can make it accessible from outside of the building if you want to have that security concern. You can totally do that and properly secure it. It would be safe. But you'd also want to make sure that the app gets updated regularly as hackers find new clever ways to exploit. And then they have to patch it, and keep the hackers out, and around the wheel goes and never ends. So let's see, we got our weird power connector here for the Synology. If we come around back, you'll see we've got one USB port. That's important because if your Synology does not have a USB port, you cannot do this upgrade to 2.5 gig. We've got two 1 gig ports back here. And this round connector here is our power plug with the flat side of the power plug facing me, the 3 o'clock position. And then I need to look on the floor to find my network. There we go. That's going to go to the router. Nothing much else to see back here. We'll hit the power button and the power light will start to blink, and then you'll see these lights will start to come on as it initializes each drive. You'll hear them come on. You'll hear 1 spin up, 2 spin up, 3 spin up, 4 spin up. Continues to load the operating system, get an IP address from the router. It'll usually beep when it's ready. And normally we leave these things on 24/7. They don't get shut off. You don't turn this off, do you?
I do. I have a
You actually, does it go to sleep or does it actually power off?
It powers off.
It powers off.
I have the power off schedule.
So it's got a scheduler. See, I didn't even know this. It's got a scheduler where you can have it turn off and turn back on.
Not turn back on.
So it can only turn off.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, I can imagine with a battery on it and keeping the date and time, it should be able to kick itself back on.
I've been doing that because it's part of my house.
Why not put it onto a battery backup surge protection?
I've been considering.
Okay. All right, I'm hearing those drives spin up. John Paul Bacon said, when Stargate SG-1 series came out, I disliked the TV series until I saw the movie, and then I couldn't get enough of the TV series. You know, I've never seen Stargate.
Oh, that was a great show.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The guy who did Stargate, the movie, that's Emran. It's got a weird name. He comes out, he had this one hit movie that everybody likes. It's got James Spader in it, I think, Stargate. Roland Emmerich, I think is the guy's name. And now because of that one good movie, he's done a bunch of crappy movies. He gets all this money and he makes these a lot of special effects and A-list actors and really stupid movies like Independence Day was okay. Yeah, it's okay. And then everything else he's done is like catastrophe movies, The Day After Tomorrow or something like that, or Earthquake, or forget what it was called.
Stargate was a good movie, and the TV show after.
Yeah, but the script was dumb. It was dumb. I'm going to upload a virus to the master computer of the alien starship.
When the TV series started, it wasn't quite as better, and it got really.
Well, I'm not even talking about the TV show. I'm just talking about movies Roland Emmerich has done. He did that Godzilla movie with Matthew Broderick. He gets these A-list actors. There's the beep. I just heard the beep. And he gets just crazy special effects. And then the scripts just are horrible. But apparently, Stargate fired on all cylinders. It was good, and I've never seen it. It's on my one of these days. I'll have to watch it. Yeah. Well, I love James Spader. He's a great actor.
It's a great movie, and the TV series, like I said, after about the mid of the first, got really.
Well, if that movie wasn't as much of a success as it was,
They
I
even
don't.
tied it into Farscape.
Stargate tied
Another
into
one of my
Farscape.
favorites.
Yeah, that looked so phony to me. It looked like puppets and rubber
Farscape
masks.
was amazing.
Yeah.
One of my absolute favorites.
I don't know. Well, again, if I'm not there, you start without me. Paul O'Brien contributes €5. Says, "Good evening, Carey and Camera Girl. Have a drink on me. Last night's stream was awesome." Yeah, I agree. I don't know why the first 10 minutes of the stream got lost. That's really bizarre. Something's weird going on at YouTube, and hopefully they'll get it figured out. Alaj says the day after tomorrow is not horrible. It is Titanic thing movie. I didn't like it. I think the day after tomorrow, is it Tom Cruise that's in there? And he gets in his little single propeller plane and he flies from California to Yellowstone in like 20 minutes. And then he turns around and flies back in the same day. Seems very unrealistic for a little plane to go that distance. And to be able to make that trip back and forth. It just didn't add up for me. But again, to each his own. I think he also did War of the Worlds. I think that was Roland Emmerich, and that wasn't good. And the Godzilla movie was terrible. Not the latest one, but the one back in the late 90s, early 2000s, where you only got to see Godzilla at the very end. Anyway, off topic. I am not a Roland Emmerich fan, and when I see his name on a movie, it always looks good in the trailers. It looks fantastic. It's just amazing visual special effects, but stories are just stupid. Anyway. All right, so this beeped, it's ready. I think what we need to do is log into it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch over to the little HP mini PC we've got here. So let me go to my HDMI input this time, and I'll turn camera 1 off. Okay, so I've got this booted up, and in theory, they're both on the same network. And now we have to find this Synology, and so there's a couple different ways we can do this. Now, my first go-to default, anytime I'm at a client's and I need to locate the Synology NAS, is I'll bring up the browser and I'll type in find.synology.com. Sometimes this doesn't work, but when it does work, it's very helpful. Because what it's going to do now is it brings up this web interface, and it's looking on the local network. Oh, and it finds a Synology DiskStation. It shows us the IP address. It shows us our operating system version is 7.11. We're going to upgrade that to 7.2, and that's the first thing I'm going to show you how to do. So I'm going to hit connect. Now, basically, it's just opening up another website here, or a tab, to that IP address. And now I need you, camera girl, to sign into it for me with your username and password. So let's see what your username is. Okay. And your password? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's my password too.
Yeah.
Okay, now if she got that into the credentials correct, which she did not. Second time's a charm.
Yeah.
And here we are in the Synology's operating system. And what I want to do is I want to go to Control Panel. I want to go over to Update and Restore. And I want to see what version we're using. Now you'll notice it says our DSM version is up to date. This is the latest as far as you would know as a user, but it's actually lying to you. Now, if DSM 7.2 was still in beta, then we could argue that that's still the latest final version. But actually, DSM 7.2 has been released. And the way you're going to grab it is we're going to go to Synology's website, and we can just say, for example, upgrade Synology to 7.2, And you'll see there's a DiskStation Manager 7.2, and I think this tells us all about what's added to this version and whether or not it's worthy of installing. Get rid of this screen. Oh, and then we have the cookies down here, just pop-ups galore. So this tells you all the benefits of the new operating system, and I believe all of the Synology NASs are compatible with this. So what we want to do is we want to download that. So with another search, and it might even be on this page somewhere, but I'm just going to search for it. I'll say download DSM 7.2, and we should be a download center for Synology. And that's the first link right here, download center. Now you have to tell it at the download center what you're looking for. We're looking for downloads for the NAS. They make other things. NAS is on top because that's the main thing they make. And then we've got to tell it which NAS we have. We have a 418. So there's the DS 418. And do know there is a difference between a 418 Play and a 418J. We just have a regular plain 418. Now it says DSM 7.11 is the operating system, but you can upgrade from your current DSM version to your preferred version. So we're going to go from 7.11 and we want to go to 7.2. And then it says, okay, this is the file that you need for your unit. So we're going to download that file, and you'll see it's going to download right over here in the top right corner. And it's downloading to the little HP computer. Now, once we have this file downloaded, which shouldn't take too long, it's a couple hundred megs, then we do the upgrade manually. Now, as I mentioned, I do believe they will offer this through automatic update in a few months. I think they're trying to not slam the server with a bunch of download requests all at the same time. So if you want it early, you have to go and get it manually. So in just a minute, Gary Tatum says 10 asterisks on the password. Got it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. No, that's not going to work either. 0. Well, I'll figure it out. All right, we're almost done with the download. And what we're going to do, back over on the Synology screen here, we're still in the control panel. Just to remind you, if I close the window, we're still in the Synology login here on this tab, and we're at Synology's website downloading on this tab. And we can see on the bottom here, just finished because the green went away. And we're going to back to control panel, back over to update and restore right over here. And then we're going to do a manual DSM update. And then we have to point it to where the file we downloaded is located. So it's going to be in our downloads directory. And apparently it's this weird file format. What does it say? PAT. So we'll double click and click OK. So it's uploading that file from the HP Mini PC into the NAS over the network right now. And it's going to pop up and warn us, right? Before you continue, make sure you've read through the important changes that will take place. The following package will be automatically updated or will require a manual update to a complete version after the DSM update. Please check package status. So yeah, when you talk about the packages or the add-ons that neither one of us use, that's referencing those add-ons. So you have to click that you understand and agree to update the system and hit update. Now it says the installation may take between 10 and 20 minutes. Please do not shut down the system during the update. Once the update is complete, the system will restart in all services, and it'll restart all services and packages. Do you want to continue? So if other people use the NAS, like in an office complex or something, you want to make sure everybody's off of it so nobody loses anything. Click yes. Now, you can time this if you want. Look at the clock below in the video. I think you'll find this will take about 3 minutes, not 10 minutes. But again, if you downloaded a bunch of apps or what they're calling packages, then it's going to have to update all those packages. And depending on which packages you have and how many apps you have, that obviously is going to add to how much time it's going to take. But since we're really just doing the operating system, this is a pretty painless process. I think this is the 6th Synology that I've done this upgrade to, and I haven't had any issues ever. Well, let's see what we're missing in the chat room here. Gary Tatum says, I love those little HP computers. I've got one at home set up as an Ubuntu server. There you go. Marvin Jenkins says, I came in late. What drive maker is Carey using? I always use, my preference, Seagate Iron Wolf. David Ice said, I used your link and got me an AX210 Wi-Fi 6E card. It's blazing fast. Yeah, they are fast, aren't they? Richard Collins says, hello. Hey, welcome in, Richard. Tim Saul said that Synology sent him an email that there's a new update. Yeah, but again, you have to do this manually currently as of June 10th, 2023. So that update is done, and now the Synology is going to reboot itself. So it does this 10-minute countdown timer, but we're not going to get anywhere near the 10 minutes. Probably, again, it's about the whole thing should take around 3 or 4 minutes in total. So this screen will not be up the full 10 minutes because, again, we're not updating any apps. We're not using any apps. So this happens really quickly. I've also never lost data as a result of doing this, even though it's a boilerplate disclaimer. You know, you should always have your data backed up regardless, of course. And this should work with any Synology, as far as I know. But of course, if you have a Synology that's super, super old that doesn't have the resources necessary, it just won't let you put it on, just so you know. And every time I say, just so you know, you should take a drink. It's no different than a Windows update, right? When you have to restart and then the updates apply during the restart and then Windows has to boot back up again, that activates the updates, put them in use. Synology follows the same process. Your Android phone follows the same process. Your iOS phone follows the same process. It just looks different. And of course, these videos are live, unscripted and unrehearsed. Everything we're doing for the very first time with these units, and anything can happen. But I'm very confident that even if things go sideways, as a computer technician, I can fix it, and that just makes for better video content. I don't expect anything to go sideways. This is a pretty easy process, almost foolproof if you leave it alone and don't interrupt it. Don't cut the power to it. Don't turn it off. Don't unplug it from the network. Just leave it alone as you would any other update. Let the update finish. Concordia's Technology contributes $2. He says, hello, Carey, watching and learning. Oh, I recall Concordia's Technology had a NAS question, didn't you? I got to go back through my email and find your question because I told him I would answer his NAS question when I did the NAS video. Oh, William Leatherland sent a very generous contribution via PayPal. William, thank you so much. William joins us from the UK, and he's even an original contributor to the Threadripper build, the original Threadripper build that we did. Okay, looking through my emails. Boy, did I flag that email? Maybe I just do a search. I'm just looking through my email while we're waiting for this. It's actually taking a little bit longer than I thought it would, but it's not going to take the full 10 minutes, pretty sure. Here it is. With a contribution via PayPal, Kcordius Technology asks, as a longtime follower, I wanted to ask you a question regarding Synology NASs. I'm curious about its performance in a business environment, particularly in terms of speed when accessing client shares and the overall reliability of the device. I know there are other reviewers and content creators out there, but there are only a few I trust, especially when it comes to recommendations for my business clients. I appreciate all the valuable contributions you make to the community, so thank you in advance for your insights. Wishing you a fantastic day. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. He goes, I know it's not expected of you, but I've always been a person who shows appreciation. Thank you. That's very kind of you. I do appreciate the contribution, and I appreciate your participation in the chat and asking the question. You want to join me in answering this question? In a business, so I have several business clients where I have removed servers to replace them with network attached storage. And Kcordius Technology wants to know, well, how reliable are they, these Synologies?
My experience, they're very reliable. It depends on the drive. Wow.
Oh, the drives inside, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, that's, if you get the Seagate Iron Wolves, yeah, you don't want to put desktop drives in it. He's also curious about its performance in a business environment, particularly in terms of speed when accessing client shares. The speed is pretty much limited to the network and, of course, the kind of files you're using. So my business clients, for example, they use a lot of Word, Excel, QuickBooks, Quicken. And QuickBooks and Quicken are a little slow to open the data file. The programs are always installed on the client computers. The only thing we're storing on the NAS are the data files.
Right.
So all the Word documents, all the Excel spreadsheets, but each computer has its own copy of Office installed. And then anybody, no matter where they are in the office, can access those files.
Right.
Do you have any other thoughts you want to add about, I don't know?
Well, so I come from an enterprise background, and we didn't use Synology, we used NetApp. And the NetApp, the drives would fail all the time. We were supporting several drives in several racks. So Synology, from a smaller business perspective, I would say they would do fine. Reliability-wise, at my house, it's been doing great. I've had a couple power failures, and it's been
Recovers
it
without any
recovers
corruption or loss.
without any issue. I do have it auto shut down, but that's just because of my own peace of mind. But again, from an enterprise perspective, we use NetApp. So
And you had how many employees using that?
the NetApp, 6,000.
6,000 employees.
6,000
So in a small business like a lawyer's office or doctor's
this
office,
would be just fine.
you know, where you've got, I would say, fewer than 30 users.
Yes.
Anything more than that, you probably want a server.
Yeah. Well, not just a server. You might need a server and a network attached storage.
That's true too. That could save you maintenance for things that don't. That's
Depends
very
on what
true.
the server is providing. So yeah, but NetApp for enterprise. Yeah.
Bebo contributes $5. Thank you, Bebo. Don't go too far. We're going to need you to sign in when this is done. It's on step 2 of 2.
Did you get my glasses?
Oh, it's ready for your sign in just as you walked away.
Okay.
Alej Depeche says on his new Ace Magician 8015, he had a problem with their Bluetooth driver. And it was resolved with a Bluetooth driver update via Windows Update. And he also is using the Intel driver and support assistant. Good plan there. Good plan. All right. Now, this is probably going to look exactly the same as 7.1. When you sign into it, we're probably going to have the same wallpaper and everything. But when we check our version, well, you're having a hard time with your password, aren't you? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Love it.
2. All right, here we go. It's always, you always have to enter your password twice, apparently. No, you're going to have to go for 3 times.
No, I know.
Oh, you got to sign in with the right username?
Yeah.
Third time's the charm?
Third time's charm.
All right, now it just finalizes the update, and you can see it looks pretty much the same. And it tells us a little bit of information here for if you're wanting to securely access and share files from outside of the building over the internet. They have these apps, which they call packages. We don't want to install those. I'll just say no thanks. This is device analytics that you can send anonymously if the device crashes. They get the crash reports. They don't know who they're from. But if they see a pattern of crashes occurring due to an incompatibility or an issue, you don't have to call them for support. They're already aware of it and can work on fixing it in an update. So I'm going to say no thanks because I don't want to work for them for free. They have also an option for two-factor authentication to be enabled. It adds a second layer of security for logging in and making changes to the router. And we'll probably turn that on later, but for now, I'm going to say no thanks. And it says you're protected by multi-factor authentication. And got it. Okay, so when I go into the control panel now and go to update and restore, I should see that we have DSM 7.2. And it still says our DSM version is up to date, which is what it said with 7.11. But there you have it. That's how easy it is to do the upgrade on a Synology NAS. And again, I think it's going to come in automatically through Synology's auto update process. Again, this is not a beta. This is the final version. I think the reason they do this is that it's to try and control the deployment so that the servers aren't slammed by every Synology user in the same week. So only those who know and know how to do it get it first. But it is, and I want to emphasize, it is a full and complete released replacement update operating system. It is not in beta anymore. Garfield Rupe with a $5 super chat. Hey, thank you, Garfield. Now it's time for us to do the 2.5 gig network upgrade. So obviously we need a USB 3 port on our Synology, which the Synology has one of. It might have one in the front too, right? Yeah. So I think you could use either one. We want to keep all the cables in the back to keep it looking clean. And you have to buy a specific type of network adapter. It's got to be based on a Realtek chipset, a specific Realtek chipset. And even then, that doesn't guarantee that the driver set is going to work from one manufacturer to another. In theory, it should if the manufacturers are all using the same network chip. However, I don't like to take risks with other people's equipment. And I don't want to spend all day trying to figure something out when somebody else has already figured it out if you simply use the tested and verified model and manufacturer of a USB network adapter. Now, there's about 8 of them, but 4 or 5 of the 8 are type C on this end, and I need type A. The Synology NASs I've been upgrading only have type A ports. So that cuts my choices down to about 4. And I think 2 or 3 of those aren't in stock, and that leaves just this one. And what cracks me up is when I look at Amazon, see if I can find, yeah, here's the Amazon page. I think I paid $35 for this. And yesterday it was $49. And earlier in the morning it was $48. And the day before that it was like $44. And the day before that it was like $39. This price changes awfully rapidly. So what you could do if you're looking for a better price is we're looking for this exact model right here. So if you don't want to pay the $50, maybe go to eBay. Let's do a search here. Somebody's trying to rip us off. I want to see price plus shipping, lowest first. So $48.99 is the cheapest one, but I found one on eBay for $38, just so you know. Suddenly that Amazon price doesn't seem so bad now that I've looked on eBay. But if you watch that, it does drop to the $40 range, and it never seems to stay the same price day after day. It's like they keep messing around with the price. It's very strange. So the files that we need, first of all, there's a YouTube channel called NAS Compares. And this guy's very, very good at what he does, but he did not make a very good video on this, not up to the standards of his normal quality. And here he's going through what you have to do for this command line you have to type in when you install the driver on your Synology NAS. So he's got the documentation more or less copied from other sources like GitHub and Reddit. So I don't really see any original content here, but it's compiled here on his site for convenience. Now you'll see different models of Synology NASs have different processors. And so what we need to know is which processor do we have on a DS418? So if we look through here, so these are the 18 series, DS418. It says our CPU is a Realtek CPU. I didn't even know Realtek made a CPU. It's a quad core. Realtek CPU. Huh. Okay. And so what we want is the driver for this network adapter for the Realtek CPU, which they are saying is what? Does he tell us? RTD1296. Not seeing anything here. So this is his video, but like I said, he doesn't really walk you through it at all. He says, oh, I already did this, so I can't show you. Well, I'm intending to show you. So the first thing we got to figure out is we know we've got this Realtek RTD1296, so we need the RTD1296 driver package. So depending on which model NAS, you don't use the same driver package for all Synologies. No. They have to write the drivers separately because of the different technologies being used. I know it's a little confusing because with Windows, you just simply plug your driver in, regardless of if you got AMD or Intel or what have you. But the Synology operating system is its own beast. It's designed entirely differently. So you're not just writing it to be compatible with the operating system, you're writing it to be compatible with what chip it's got. So if we look over here, over at GitHub, there's some conversation about this particular version of the driver, 2.16.3-4. And if we scroll down, these are all the driver packages for all the various types of Synologies. And then there's a couple versions, right? So if one version doesn't work, there's 4-7.1, there's 4. Then try .2, or even go back to 4.6. See what I'm saying? Because they'll be all for the same model, perhaps. So we scroll down here, we need the Realtek one, the RTD1296. And there's two files here we can try. There's a part 1 and a part 2, and they're AP, what is it? SPK? What I'm going to do is click on the RTD1296 because that's the chip we have. And I'm going to get part 1 and part 2. We should only need one or the other. We shouldn't need them both. In fact, I just realized I download those to the streamer, and I need to download those over to the HP since we're doing everything from the HP. But I'll tell you what, just to save a little time, I'm going to copy those over to a flash drive. They're pretty small files. You'll see it didn't take much time to grab them, but I just figure for what it's going to take me to find the website. I'm going to just take these files. Let's see, go to downloads. I'm going to take those two SPK files and I'm going to paste them onto my flash drive. Boom. I'm going to disconnect my flash drive, even though you don't really have to do that anymore. You should be able to pull flash drive when it's, as long as it's not reading or writing. Yeah, it keeps telling me it's in use, but it's not in use, so I'm just going to yank it out. Okay, now, with that being done, we basically have everything we need. So let me go back over to camera 1 here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got my flash drive, and I'm going to plug it in here to the HP. I'm going to copy those two files off. So we'll go to our HDMI input. Okay, so now we're back onto the HP. And we're going to take these two files, this one, and we're going to cut those, paste them into the downloads directory, which is where I intended to download them to begin with. Now, as far as the DSM file, that's the operating system, we will never use that again. It's already been installed, so we no longer need the installing package. You'll never need to do this again unless you have multiple Synology units that are the same model. Otherwise, you'll need to download the package based on the model you have. All right, let me pull my flash drive from there, put my flash drive away for next time. And once again, I want to go over to camera 1. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take the USB network card here and I'm going to plug it into any of the USB ports your Synology NAS has. So in this case, I only have one port in the back. And as I mentioned, I want to keep it in the back, and you'll see it lights up, but it's not working yet. So now that we've got those packages, how do we install those packages? So looking back again at, well, here, let me just do this. Let's go to the HP computer again. I have to go full screen so I can see. What I want to do under the, I think where it is, let me close out the control panel there. Close that out. We'll go to the package center. I want to do a manual install. Then I'm going to browse. And I'm going to try package 1 first. So that one ends the number 1. And I type, or I hit next, and now it's installing that package into the Synology. Now it says that it's being provided by a third party, and Synology has not given it their blessing. Yeah, because Synology wants you to buy a different NAS with a 2.5 gig Ethernet. They don't want you to upgrade yours. But at the same time, you could be putting a virus on your unit, or you could cause a stability problem with the unit. And they want you to know that if anything negative happens, you did it to yourself. Don't call us or blame us. Okay? Okay. We know this is all good. And it says the wizard will apply the following settings and start to install the package. And that's the Realtek driver 2.16.3.4, who the developer is, the description, and then of course we'll check the box, run after installation, and hit done. And it installs the package. Now it says it's failed to install the package. That's normal. That's okay. We're going to click OK, and we're going to click Done. It says failed to repair. That's fine. Again, done. Oh, somehow it's trying to install it again. Okay, let's just close this out. This is a little wonky. It's a little sketchy the way this works because it's a kludge. It's a workaround through the enthusiast community. If we look at installed, you see it's got this driver. It shows it's installed. And of course, we can always uninstall this if we change our mind or we can't get it to work. You don't have to leave it on your system and then worry. So looking back at the directions now, it wants us to run a command. So if I go over to, let's go to the, let's just type in Synology Synology 2.5 upgrade. And the first link that comes up here is NAS compares video. I don't want a video. I want this website. Upgrade Synology and QNAP. Well, look at that. Apparently it's for QNAP as well. These are the adapters they've tested with. And what we need is I need that command that has to be executed. So trying to find that website again. Here's a Reddit forum discussing this process if you want more information and follow the conversation from enthusiasts. I just want to go back to as compares. Yeah. No, this isn't what I want. Okay. What I would do is look at my own video notes. I thought I could easily avoid doing that by searching for it. But just to move things forward a little faster since we're live, I'm going to pull up my own channel here. So CareyHolzman. I'll look under this video, which is what you're watching right now. Just pause that. Down here in my video notes, here is the website I wanted here. And we need this command line. It says the installation will fail the first time. After that, run the following command from the SSH terminal. So what is an SSH terminal? What we need to do is we need to log into the Synology so that we get a command prompt to do that. So
Buddy for the rescue.
what?
Buddy for the rescue.
Yes, so there is a freeware utility called Putty. So if I just type in the word Putty, hit enter, download Putty for Windows. It's free, and it's pretty small. And we want the 64-bit installer. And you'll see that's going to install, it's going to download really quick. So we'll have that here in just a moment. Click Open File. Next, install, yes, and that's done. So there's the README file we don't need, and we're going to close that. I'm going to minimize this for now, and I'm just going to type in Putty, P-U-T, there it is right there, and we want to sign in using SSH, and it needs to know the IP address of the Synology. So as a reminder, our Synology is 192.168.1.84. One nine two dot 168.1.84.
Port 5000.
Do I have to put the port in?
Yes.
So over here where it says port, we put in 5000. And that should be fine, I think. Oh, connection is SSH. Oh, I got to do the whole thing again? What would have happened if I just left it at default? Open. Is it connecting me? No. Hold on a minute. I screwed up. We'll bring up Putty again. This time I want to open it. SSH connection. I think it is by default. Did you?
Ah.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me look back at these steps because I forgot about this step right here because you have to do this. You have to run this command. And that's why I'm making this video, because I've found the documentation of how people say to do it to be very lacking. Like he doesn't even seem to mention anything about it. He just says, you got to run this command, but he doesn't really tell you how to get into to the SSH terminal. And then, of course, he's giving credit here to where he got this information, which is nice to see over here. But there's nothing here that helps us. Greg M says SSH is usually port 22. Oh, you know what? That could be exactly what my problem is here. So to try one other thing, let's go back to session 192.168.1. What did I say it was? 84. Let's leave it at default and see what it does. No, it's not. It says it's inactive. It's not. That's not working for us.
Duh.
Because you have SSH turned off.
Correct.
Okay, so I guess we go back into the control panel. So we're going to just close this for now. That's going to be under what setting is network? Network interface. LAN 1, LAN 2, traffic, connectivity, enable HTTP, enable the server header. Totally forgot about this part. So I'll tell you what, let's do this. How to enable SSH on Synology. Go to the terminal setting page on your Synology and then enable the SSH service. So we have to go to the terminal setting. See these instructions, just universally, why are the instructions so bad? Terminal and SNP, there's what we want. Enable SSH service. That probably needs to be done, huh? And then we click OK. Apply. Apply it? I can't tell. No settings were changed. Okay, so apparently it's already taken effect. And we're going to bring up.
Change the default.
Yeah, it's on port 22. I'm going to leave it there for now. Well, you can turn it back off when you get it back. I just want to show people at home how to do this without overcomplicating them with unnecessary, overly technical information, so we can take baby steps to accomplish the goal of this video and nothing more than that. If we want to talk about SSH and other security on the Synology, we'll make a separate video for that. So let's see. The host key is not cached for this server. That's fine, except. Okay, now we're logged into the server, and now I should be able to copy and paste that big command. I don't have to retype that whole thing, so back over to, where did I put his website? Don't need that anymore. Must be before this. So we're going to take this line and highlight it with the mouse, press Control-C, then we're going to go back into PuTTY, and here at the prompt, we'll hit Control-V, or what is it, up arrow?
Right. Mouse click.
Right mouse click. Whoops, that did not work. Hold on. Right mouse click. Nope, it's not working.
Paste.
What's that?
Did you copy the right mouse?
Let me try it again. We'll go back over here. Highlight. Right mouse click and choose copy. And we'll go into PuTTY. Right mouse click. Nothing's happening. We have a paste option in here, maybe? Yeah, the right mouse click isn't working. It worked on mine, but it's not working on this one for some reason. Well, I guess I'm going to type it. Oh, it's not letting me type or anything. Something's wrong. Oh, you know what? It looks like the font color is the same as the background color or something very strange is happening. I'm going to close this and reopen it again. Close that. Start with PuTTY, P-U-T-T-Y. 192.168.1.84. Open. Right click. Oh, it wants the password. That's why I couldn't read it.
Duh.
So come in here. Come over here. It's so tiny and it's really.
Wait for you to get there.
It's so tiny and faded. I can't see it very well. Is it supposed to do something now?
Hold on.
That's right. Yeah. Whoops. Oh, you closed putty?
Yeah, I closed it. Or you have it installed.
Just type putty on the search, or just PUT. This is going to need some editing. Wait.
What?
I can't see what you're typing. It's,
Typing in my username.
oh, it's your username. I see. Then you have to put in your password. These are the login credentials that we use to sign into the Synology. And then we wait, and hopefully it will let us in this time. Access is denied, it says. The username, it can be case sensitive, right?
Yes.
Now we're in. Thank you.
Well,
All right. Now with that done, now I can go back over to these instructions, highlight this command, right click and choose copy, go back over to putty, right click, and you'll see it automatically puts it in for us with that right mouse click, and I push enter. Now the screen, I have to walk over here to see the screen. And it says, we trust you have received the usual lecture. Oh, you got to put your password in one more time for this command to go through. So it says, we trust you've received the usual lecture from the local system administrator. It usually boils down to these three things: respect the privacy of others, think before you type. With great power comes great responsibility. Thank you, Spider-Man. So did it work? I mean, it doesn't tell us that it executed. So I'm not quite sure if that did it or not. Assuming it did. If you want to right click again, it wouldn't hurt to run it a second time, I guess. Yeah, and enter. Okay, yeah. So this is frustrating because it doesn't say it's accepted or completed. You just have to take its word for it. And now if I go back over, we're done with this. We can close it. And then we're going to go back over to the Synology NAS, and there's a few things we want to look at. If we go under network, what I'm interested in are the network adapters that we have, or the network interface. And you'll see we've got LAN 1 and LAN 2. We do not see that USB adapter yet. At this point, you must reboot the Synology. So we're going to go up here, and we're going to choose to restart. Now, when we restart this, in theory, we should have a third adapter, a LAN 3, if you will. And I don't have the network plugged into it. We still have the network plugged in, of course, to the regular built-in LAN, 1 gigabit LAN ports on this unit so that we can put the files on it and configure it. And once it's all working correctly, we should see the 2.5 gig LAN adapter. Then we can unplug the network cable from the standard 1 gig plug on the back of the Synology. And from that point forward, we should be able to simply use our USB 2.5 gig adapter and be running at 2.5 gig speeds. However, there's a reason why there's two packages. There's a 1 and a 2, and we might need the second one. No big deal if we do. We're going to find out here in just a minute. It won't cause any harm doing it this way. Barry Klein said this is Unix/Linux. Commands are not verbose like Windows. Nothing said means success. Yeah, I can't say I'm a fan of not getting some confirmation one way or the other, as you would in DOS. Greg mentions in Windows 10 or 11, you can simply use SSH username at IP address. Yes, but I wanted to show off PuTTY because I'm trying to make this as simplified as possible. And as with anything with a computer, there's usually a half different ways to get a job done. And PuTTY is such a convenient little application. And of course, if you don't need it after this, it's super easy to go to your control panel and uninstall it. So I'm going to need you to come over here and sign in again in just a minute. The unit is still restarting. So yeah, I appreciate the tip, Greg, but again, just trying to keep things ultra simple. Just knowing that right-click trick, because even NAS compares is saying you got to type it in, that there is no copy and paste. So he didn't even know that. So he doesn't have a network guru like you, like I have. And Gary prefers to use terminal for Windows. Well, that's an option too. Yeah.
Which you can, yeah, but
Yeah.
PuTTY is a small application.
Yeah, it's free. It's open source.
Yeah.
It's handy. And if this is the only time you use it, and once you get the Synology up and running at 2.5 gig, you just uninstall PuTTY. No big deal.
Yeah.
If you ever want it again, it's just a free download and put it back in when you need
I
it.
used to use it all the time.
Yeah, Control V did not work in PuTTY. At least it didn't for me. Boy, this restart's taking a while. Hey, we got a beep and a sign in. So you want to come here and sign in again for me? Okay, now if we go to Control Panel and we go to Network, over to Network Interface, so we still don't have LAN 3 showing yet. So either that driver doesn't work or we also need the .2 as well. That's okay, no big deal. We'll go ahead and go back over to Packages. So we're going to close this out. Over to the Package Center. We're going to do a manual install. We're going to browse to the .2 file right here. So I don't quite know if .2 is a replacement for .1 or if you need them both. They're very tiny little files. So we're going to go ahead and just put .2 on top, hit next. And of course, there's our standard warning again. Done. And then if we look at installed, Realtek driver shows it's installed right down here. And if we go back over to the control panel, back over to network, over to network interface, now we have LAN 3. That's LAN 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug the networking cable from LAN 1, and I'm now going to plug that into LAN 3. And it should auto assign an IP address. These 169 addresses mean basically 0. If you ever see an IP address that starts with 169, that means it means it couldn't find an IP address. What'd you call it? A PIPA, APIPA. So now what we need to do is we need to refresh this information. So I'm going to close this window, and we'll close this window. We're going to go back into the control panel, back under network and back under interface, and see if we got an IP. Oh, you know what? We're on a different LAN connection. We might not have this IP address anymore for the Synology. We might have just changed it. Okay, so I'm just confusing myself. I'm going to close all these windows out. I'm done with them. And we're going to open up browser and we're going to type in find.synology.com, because it likely got assigned a different IP address. If everything's working, it'll find it. Yeah, we're now 192.168.1.221. I'm going to hit connect. I need you to sign in for me. We're pretty much done. That's all there was to it. The downloads are free. You just have to buy the USB adapter. If you buy a different manufacturer's USB adapter, You better make sure you get the right file for it. Oni. Here she comes now saying, Oni, Oni. It's probably the keyboard. It's not you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I say.
I never make mistakes.
Now, do me a favor, click on Control Panel or hit Never on that box there. Then go to Control Panel, go to Network. Oops. Click on LAN 3. Does it show our connected speed? No? Edit, maybe? I know there's a way to check the network speed in here somewhere. Traffic control, static route, activity, general. Let's type in how to check network speed, Synology. Open the package center. Oh, I don't want to do that. Speed test. I'm not interested in a speed test. How to check LAN connection speed. Yeah, this is all just speed testing. I want to know this, how to check LAN status. How about that? Gotta be in here somewhere. I'm just not seeing it. Let's see. Go back to network interfaces and look on the right, he says. We have the IP address, the network status. Oh, there it is. Yeah, 2,500 megabits, 2,500 megabits per second. So now we have upgraded this network attached storage drive that cannot have 2.5 gig networking according to Synology. Well, we just did it all for a few minutes of our time, a couple of free downloads. And well, the instructions are a little bit unusual. I felt like somebody should make a video showing how easy this is, because I had to figure it out. I had to translate the documentation, and I thought, how would I explain this to myself so I could understand it? And that's pretty much all there is to it. We're done. We can uninstall PuTTY because we're done with it, or leave it on if you want. And then we'll shut down the Synology, and Camera Girl can take it back home. And from now on, she's going to use this USB network connection. So yes, you can buy cheaper 2.5 gig USB network adapters, but they may not work. I know that the Club 3D unit does work, and it has been tested. And they are asking in the GitHub community that if you're trying a different brand that has one of those Realtek chipsets on it, to report back whether or not it worked. Because they're not saying just because it has that Realtek chipset that it will work, only that it's possible it could. And so what I did is I just looked at the units that they've already verified, and I bought one that was available that had a Type A. Like I said, they have a lot of Type C ones, but there's no Type C plug on the Synology, and I would have to get then a Type C, Type A adapter to convert the tiny USB plug to the bigger rectangular USB plug, which I did not want to do. So yes, if I had to spend $10 or $15 more to get this specific unit, which I have no doubt they are pricing up knowing that Synology users who want to upgrade are going to buy their brand because that's the one that's been tested and verified. I would not be surprised if they just bump the price up because knowing that they hold a unique place in the market as a verified working upgrade for the Synology. And then, of course, you have to, use it every day and see if your Synology remains reliable and it's not crashing or falling off the network. My experience with it has been 100%, no problem, solid as a rock. And I'm absolutely seeing a speed improvement. You will need a 2.5 gig switch to take advantage of 2.5 gig networking. Otherwise, it's only going to move the data across the network to the slowest speed. So if I have a 1 gig connected computer connected to a 2.5 gig switch with the 2.5 gig Synology, then the bottleneck is the 1 gig connector. But since this is 2.5 gig, the switch is on the back of the TP-Link Wi-Fi 7 router is all 2.5 gig on the back. And now our Synology is 2.5 gig. So anytime we do file transfers in the building from or to 2.5 gig to 2.5 gig, we're going to move at 2.5 gig speeds. So if you meet all of those requirements, then you're going to get the benefit of the speed improvement. On the other hand, my laptop that's wireless in the other room, it's not going to go any faster because the bottleneck is its Wi-Fi. So maybe when the Wi-Fi 7 adapters come out, I'll upgrade that computer in the other room, that old Dell XPS 9570, I think it is. I'll put a little Wi-Fi 7 adapter in it. Should just be one screw, plugs in like an M.2 drive. Load those drivers and then connect it at Wi-Fi 7 to the router, which again will be plugged into a 2.5 gig hard line into the Synology. I should see much, much faster transfer speeds even on the Wi-Fi, but not as fast as a hardwire 2.5 gig, but an improvement nonetheless. And we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Oystein joins us from Norway. Welcome in, Oystein, with a 150 Norwegian kroner contribution. Right on. Thank you so much. He says, my Asus GT AC5300 router died today, so I'm looking for a new one. I was wondering if you have any experience with the Asus RT-AX89X. Let me pull that router up. Let's take a look at what it is. I'm curious about your router dying. That's pretty unusual. Are you sure you just don't have a bad power adapter? You could probably go on eBay and buy just that power adapter for 10 or 15 US dollars, if that's all it is. But if you're looking to upgrade anyway, let's take a look. Let me switch back over to the mini PC over here. And there we go. I'm going to sign out of the Synology here and sign out. Yeah, that reboot is ultra critical. If you don't do the reboot, you'll just chase your tail trying to figure out why isn't it finding the network adapter. And so you're looking at it in a Asus RT-AX89X. Let's take a look. Oh, it's the Spider router. Okay. I have not used this particular router, but I've used the model before this one. So this is going to be AX6000. It's Wi-Fi 6. It is not 6E, but it is a 12-stream router, which is what I liked about my Netgear RAX120 that I've been using for the last couple of years. Me personally, I think this router is big, bulky, and ugly. But as to how it works, I've had very good luck with Asus routers. I've had a power button break on an old N900, and I fixed it by just soldering the two connections on the power button together inside the unit, so it's always on. And if I want to turn it off, I have to just unplug it. So other than that, that router still works today. It sits on a shelf as like a backup router I can use for testing. If we look at the Amazon, should have an Amazon page for this. We can see what the reviewers are saying about it. But I'm sure it's replaced with 6E, and then Wi-Fi 7's around the corner. So we're looking for Asus RTX, what was it called again? AX89X. Okay. So it looks like it's $350. It's got 442 reviews, averaging 4 stars. And then there's a $30 off coupon bringing out the 320. And then who knows, maybe they have some used ones. You could save even more money. Save with used, very good, $335. It's not much savings at all when you can get $30 off. The new one's cheaper. Of course, you're in Norway, so this probably is an option for you, but maybe see if you want to save some money, do that. But as for the router itself, I've never used this particular model. We've got mostly 5 stars. I always go to the 1-star reviews because a lot of the people that leave the reviews are morons and they don't know how to use the equipment. So instead of giving themselves 1 star, they give the equipment 1 star. Or sometimes the delivery driver drop kicks the package to their front door, and instead of rating the delivery, they're rating the device itself when it's not the manufacturer's fault. So let's see, what does it say? A year of aggravation, problem is found. Primary WAN is defective. Okay. Vulnerable to exploit. I don't know if that's still true, although that's recent. That's just May of this year. They don't like ASUS support here. Product support website, wrong. This says, what a letdown. Overpriced garbage. Well, tell us how you really feel. Must be my bad luck. ASUS can break your router at any time. Sloppy updates killed my home internet for 5 days. Bad company, bad product, so much promise. Worst ASUS product I've ever had. Okay. But on the flip side of that, there's many more people giving it 5 stars than are giving it 1 stars. Say it's fast, it's quad core, it's got a gig of RAM, it makes a difference. Parental controls work well. Overall, an excellent router. You get what you pay for. So that's saying it costs, they probably bought it when it was $500 or something. Overall, you know, I always want to see 1-star reviews on any product being sold, because if it doesn't have any 1-star reviews, then it probably doesn't have very many reviews, or the reviews are fake. So you definitely know there's crazies out there. There's people who don't know what they're doing. They blame the device. And some people have legitimate 1-star complaint issues. Maybe they got a bad unit. Who knows? At the end of the day, though, 5-star outnumbers 1-star 6-1. So the odds are in your favor that you'll be happy with it. Me personally, I do not like that design. That's why I went with the BE 19,000. But it's, you know, twice the price. But I am very, very happy with this router, Oystein. And if you can get your hands on one, I'll tell you what, I am very, very happy with this router. And it's in stock now, at least here in the US. They told me it wasn't going to be in stock until the end of next month. But here, apparently, they've got it. And if I were ordering this today, I'd have it on Tuesday. It's much smaller, doesn't take up as much room on the desk as that ASUS router, or even the previous versions of TP-Link's, the 6E router. They're the big, similar spider shape. So this one is a unique design. It's 2.5 gig networking on the back, a couple of 10 gig ports on the back. And if you can get this one, I'm telling you, yes, it costs more, but it's Wi-Fi 7, so you're ready for upgrading to Wi-Fi 7 when the Wi-Fi 7 adapters, the wireless adapters come out, which should be any time now. Certainly by the fall, I think we should have them. All right, now let me go back over to the chat room. And Troll McTrollington contributed $6 Canadian. He says, oh, the text is so tiny and faded. Can't see it very well. Yeah. Acordius Technology contributed $5. He said he's going to be using HD Red Seagate. I don't know what HD Red Seagate is. I would use Seagate Iron Wolf. I would not use the Western Digital Reds. There is a, he says the business is an auto repair body shop, saving pics and video, I think replacing a 2012 server. Yeah, I think it'll work well in that environment. If we go back over to, the HP mini PC here, I want to show you something. We'll go to YouTube. And we'll go to Western Digital Red. Do not buy. There's a couple of really interesting videos out there, in particular these two. The one from NAS Compares, who does just all network attached storage information. You might want to subscribe to his channel. And this gentleman here called Space Rex, is that what it is? Who's really upset about Western Digital network attached storage drives. He's had enough, so much so that he decided to make a video about it and rant about it. That was just 12 days ago. So I'm assuming he knows what he's talking about and his experiences are real. I've not had any complaints with the Seagate Iron Wolf drives. And if you can afford the Iron Wolf Pros, well, then you get like free data recovery on those as well. But I don't typically use the Pros. They cost more money. So just the regular Iron Wolves are what I recommend. Over to camera one. There I am. Is that picture tilted? It looks tilted to me for some reason.
No.
Is it straight?
Straight.
What is it? I get the idea that this looks like it's Leaning Tower of Pisa. So what happens is the camera's not directly in front of me. The camera's a little off to the side. And when you turn the camera to straighten out, to center the image, then because it's on an angle, one side may look taller than the other side. I'm going to have to like move these cameras a little more to my left, and then maybe move the monitor screen a little more to the left. But this looks tilted to me. Paul says, remember, Mara wants SSH turned off on the Synology. Well, remember, Mara is fully capable, and when she gets it home, she knows how to do that. If she wants to turn it off, she will turn that off. She doesn't need the big strong man to do that for her. Do you? That wasn't supposed to be funny.
It was funny.
Hey, there's a jar of pickles somewhere you're going to need help with. I'm going to get a cold Gatorade. Hey, you know what? You didn't lose any data. It went smoothly.
Well, I held off doing it. You can do it on here.
Thank you for letting me do this. Thank you to Camera Girl for bringing her personal NAS in so we can upgrade it. And in exchange for your generosity, I will give you this overpriced USB adapter that I'm using on my Synology, but I have another one arriving. It might even be here today. If not, it'll be here some point next week. So I can live with 1 gig, and then when you can take this home and it's all ready to go for
I
you.
have just a 2.5 gig port waiting.
Yeah, but if you only have one 2.5 gig port, what's the point?
I got one.
Oh, you've got more than one. So if you wanted to upgrade to a very good 2.5 gig switch, show you, I bought one, and it's $120 for a 5-port switch made by Asus. Now, you can get them made by manufacturers that aren't as well known, so they don't charge that premium name price. But the Asus store, 2.5 gig switch, this one's 5 ports, it's $119 on Amazon. There's our wall wart. And simply plug one cable into your router, And then anything that's 2.5 gig, plug into the 2.5 gig. So anything 2.5 gig will talk to each other here, and we'll talk to the internet back at the router at the 1 gig speed. So that way you get the best of both worlds. And they do make these in 8-port, or you can get them from MokerLink and Sadala. They also make 2.5 gig networking switches. You can get the 8-port one from them for the same price as this 5-port from ASUS, but I wanted the name brand. So even though the TP-Link router I have has 4 2.5 gig ports on it, my Netgear does not. And so I didn't know if this new TP-Link router was going to work out for me. And so far it is, but I'm using all 4 of the 2.5 gig ports on the back of it. So if I want to add any more, I'm going to need a switch. I wanted to avoid using a switch because it adds one more plug, another cable. A cable runs from this switch to the router, and then the 2 cables, or however many cables from devices would plug. It's a mess of cables. So I prefer to not use one of these unless I have to. And I don't want to screw around with some non-name brand thing and then have my network go down because I cheaped out. So for 20 bucks more, I got the name brand. I haven't used it yet though, because the TP-Link arrived in time. And like I said, I've got the TP-Link all filled up, but I don't have anything else to plug into it, but I'm sure I will. Give me enough time. I'm sure I'll find something. Now, does anybody have any questions about today's video, about network attached storage, about the 2.5 gig, why we're doing that, or router or networking related questions? I'd be happy to do my best to provide an answer for you. Frankie B with $19.99 in super chat. Thank you, Frankie B. He says, this is a great stream. Thanks, Mara, Lena, and Carey. Well, thank you, Frankie. Thanks for supporting the channel.
You're welcome.
Luke Greenia says, thank you for the content, Mara. Look at you getting all the attention.
Stealing it from you.
What's the name of the network switch? Troll McTrollington wants to know. So if we go over to the mini PC again, and full screen over here, what you can do is you can go to Amazon and just type in 2.5 GBE space switch, and you'll see a number of devices appear. So here's Sadola. This network is, this Netgear is just a gigabit switch. So it's a sponsored result. It has nothing to do with what we searched for. So you got to pay attention with Amazon that sometimes they're going to present items to you that don't match your search. So like, well, that's close. It's a switch. It matches many of your words. But if we look down through here, there's a TrendNet unmanaged 2.5 gig switch. Keep scrolling. There's one called Ulinka, and QNAP makes one. TP-Link makes one. Well, this says 8-port multi-gigabit. So what does that mean? I'm going to guess that's 2.5 gig. And the one we have is made by ASUS. There's plenty to choose from. Instead of going page after page after page, I'll just type in ASUS. And it's red, so it should stand out. Why isn't it popping out? There it is right there. That's the one I just showed you on camera. That's the ASUS Store 5-port, 2.5 gig unmanaged Ethernet network switch. And it's backwards compatible, so you can still plug in 1 gig devices. You can plug in 100 megabit devices if you have them that old, and it'll work backwards. And obviously, it's going to operate the data communications based on the speed of the capabilities of the device you're plugging into it. It won't affect anything else plugged into it. Just means that anything slower than 2.5 gig is going to stay whatever its maximum speed is. If it's gigabit, then it's only going to run a gigabit. But everything else plugged into it will still run at 2.5 gig if they are 2.5 gig. But you don't have to only plug 2.5 gig devices in this. Regular gigabit devices and 100 megabit devices can be plugged into it as well. I wouldn't do that at this price because a regular switch is 20 bucks. So you're paying 6 times more to get that 2.5 gigabit connection. And again, you don't have to buy the Asus brand. There are other brands that will probably work equally as well that aren't as well known here. And if we just scroll through back again, so my search is just saying 2.5 gigabit switch. You'll see we have several pages of results. If we go to the bottom here, it's got about 10 pages, 9 pages of results. Something called SteamImo, 11 port Ethernet unmanaged. Oh, this does power over Ethernet. 2 gigabit uplinks, only one 2.5 gig SFP, so that's not going to work for me. Here's the MokerLink 8-port 2.5 gig switch for the same price as that Asus. Oh, it's even cheaper with a $10 coupon. It takes it to 110, and it gives you 3 more ports plus the 10 gig SFP port, right? Yeah, which I won't use that 10 gig. Zyxel has a 5-port 2.5 gig unmanaged switch for $89.99. It's not a big savings though, 30 bucks, whatever, but do know that you have options and to choose accordingly. And pay attention because again, you're going to see gigabit Ethernet switches. You don't want a gigabit. You want what's either referred to as multi-gig or 2.5 gig. And even then, you may only get 1 or 2 2.5 gigs. So you want to look at the details of the unit and say like this one has 5 times 1 gigabit port and 1 2.5 gig. That's not what I want. I want all the ports to be 2.5 gig. So this one, here's a renewed TrendNet model for $97.99. That's got 8 ports, it's unmanaged, and all the ports are 2.5 gig. I just don't like when they put the power connector in the same place as the network cables. I don't know. I always feel like the network cables should be in the front and the power cable should be in the back. And I want to be able to see lights next to the network cables so I know if I got a bad port or not. So if the ports are in the back and the lights are in the front, it's difficult to associate which port number for which light. And I feel like, for me personally, for just the way it looks for cable management, I want the unit to plug in the back. See, like this Netgear, it's 1 gig. Here's a TP-Link. Woo, $402. Tenda, they make some pretty good networking equipment. 2.5 gig Ethernet, 8 2.5 gig ports. There we go. And looks like power connector is going to be in. Now, power connectors on the front on this one too. See, I don't like that. But that doesn't affect the way the switch works. It's just how it's going to look when it's all wired up. Something to keep in mind, perhaps, if you care about stuff like that, the way I do when you're making a purchasing decision. And let me go back over to the chat and see if there's other questions I missed. If I've missed your question, please ask it again while I'm paying attention. Thomas Backenstow says, that's a great lesson. Yeah, and it's so easy. Anybody can do it. Just follow the steps exactly as I've shown them, and you'll get the same results using the same equipment, doing everything exactly the way I showed it. You won't be there, though.
I won't be there.
Jim KJ3N says, the MokerLink I have has 8 ports. Yeah, and I've heard good things about MokerLink. Carey, do you still have the Synology RS816? No, those are gone. Sometimes, Doman 2000 says, sometimes I copy some big file to null over my network just to see the performance max out. Hey man, whatever floats your boat. Serve the Home has done a review on a couple of the $99 2.5 gig switches. Yes, that's correct. He has. Patrick over at Serve the Home. Thank you, Terrell. Les Stevenson says, wonderful live stream today, Carey. Learned quite a lot today. Thanks for your time. Carey and Mara, catch you soon. Right on. It's our pleasure. Thank you for joining us today. Art and Hog says, Carey, you need Cisco. Well, we do have a big Cisco managed switch that we're going to bring out maybe next week or
Monday.
maybe Monday.
Yeah.
Well, if we do it on Monday, that'll be a members only video. So we might just do that a members only thing and then maybe do it again for the general public at some point in the future.
Fine.
But what I want to do with it, because they're so inexpensive, you go on eBay and you can buy these retired Cisco network switches that were used in big corporations. And it's massive, don't get me wrong. Not ideal for home use, but you pick them up for like $50. These things were like a couple grand when they were new. And then you can log into it and basically set it up to function as an unmanaged switch if you want to. And I don't know how to do that.
Sort of.
Well, I don't know how to do it, but I know somebody who does, and we'll put her to work. I thought for $50 to buy this massive Cisco switch would make for a good video. What I do with it after that, I don't know. Tim wants to know, is the RAM easy to upgrade? Well, the Synology units do have RAM. It's using laptop RAM. It's very easy to upgrade, but it won't improve the performance of your Synology data transfer rates. All adding RAM does is it makes the packages that you install run faster, especially if you're running a lot of packages at the same time, or if you're running a virtual machine, something like that. Although I tried to run a virtual machine of Linux on the Synology that I have and doubled my RAM, and it was just too slow to use it for that purpose. So for me, I think adding RAM beyond what it comes with is a waste of money, but that's just because I don't download packages. I don't use them. Whether or not that benefits you and how you use it, you'll have to tell me. But as far as the upgrade goes, you open the unit up, you'll see the slots, you pop them in. In fact, you can do a YouTube search here for whatever model of Synology you have, followed by the words RAM upgrade, and you'll probably find some content creators that walk you through that process as well. NAS Compares would be a good YouTube channel to subscribe to, and he's probably done that with several different models from Synology and QNAP and others. I imagine he's probably done that already. Acordius Technology says, thank you, Camera Girl and Carey, for the information provided. Very insightful and much appreciated. Tom Grady says your $50 Cisco can be your customer spare. No, it can't. My customers almost universally have a very small spot dedicated for their networking equipment, and they would not have any place to put this. It's massive. Now, if my customers had a rack and I could...
It has to be racked.
Yeah, if the customer had a rack, I could slide it into the rack, and that would be great. Two of my customers have racks, and they're both pretty much full. So it'd be so much easier to just take something much lighter, much more portable, and just plug it in than deal with placing, it's a 48 port switch anyway. I don't have a single customer that needs a 48 port. Maybe 24, but not 48. Old Man 55 says, I love learning new things. And Carey, this video has not let me down. Right on. Well, thank you for that, Old Man 55. Martin Hogg says, at least Cisco meets your choice of power fed at the rear and port lights at the front. Yeah, but then so does the ASUS model I showed you as well. But agreed. Obviously, if it's rack mounted, the power needs to come in from the back. And these rack mounted switches don't have on and off power. Usually the rack has power supplies, and you will turn everything off on the rack by cutting power with a main switch from the power supplies that are typically installed at the bottom of the rack. And so when you turn the power onto the rack, it powers everything in the rack. So if you notice, a lot of rack mounted hardware does not have an on-off switch. Otherwise, you'd have two places to turn it on and off. That would get a little confusing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing with that Cisco managed switch, because like I said, I've never messed around with a managed switch before. And it's a whole different language, a whole different series of commands. It's going to set up as a VLAN, right? You have to set up a VLAN whether you like it or not, a virtual LAN. But we should be able to program it to operate, in a home environment, to more or less make it unmanaged. But we have to manage it to make it unmanaged. And then once we set it, unless it somehow gets its configuration wiped out, it should just stay that way. And we can always back up the configuration no differently than you can with your router. You can have all your settings and everything saved into a file. Then you can reload that file as well. So all different options here. I'll just take another quick look through the chat and see if there's any other questions I can answer. And then other than that, I think we'll wrap it up for today. We're going to be right at about the 2-hour mark, which I think is a good place to stop. Oystein says multi-gig is 2.5 gig, and it could also mean 5 gig or 10 gig. Yeah, that's why you got to read the details. Thank you, Oystein. Oystein says the VE 19000 has not arrived in Norway yet, but I'll research it more. Thanks for the tip, Carey. There's got to be a way you can order it and just get a power adapter converter, so you should be able to order it from the US and have it shipped to Norway, or from maybe even England or some other European country. I think it's just the power cable adapter you'd have to adapt. Paul Garrett says thank you for the content. Tim Soul says thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you too. Troll McTrolling says, where do you put all that stuff you have, Carey? Is that why you've got a second studio to serve as a warehouse? Oh, it's getting pretty bad, but that's why we do a lot of giveaways. And we'll definitely have to get to some more giveaways. Right now, I'm still in the process of finishing up a few computer builds. I've got the 2 live mixer builds to finish. They're waiting on network cards that I'm going to add. I've got that Alzey hot dog build. Alzey has a new liquid cooler coming out that looks amazing. It's very impressive looking. And I thought I should put that in the hot dog computer because that's also an Alzey case. Let me show you that real quick since we're talking about it. Let me go back over to the mini PC and full screen over here. And then we'll go over to YouTube. We'll type in Alzey. They have their own YouTube channel. And let's see. Let's just click on any of their content. Go over here. That's not them. My bad. Here's their main channel. Go to videos. Look at this cooler. So I reached out to them, said, hey, I'd like to test one of these coolers. It's called the i360, and it's got fans that kind of lock in together. But look at the pump. I guess it's got 2 impellers. It's like a dual pump. And then it's got RGB, and it's just double impellers. And it's just a really cool looking all-in-one. I've never seen anything like it before. Does it work as good as it looks? Is it a hot dog? I don't know, but I thought it'd be a nice upgrade to put into the Alzey computer case that we have here. And I think it's a very attractive looking pump. It doesn't look like anything else I've seen. So hopefully they'll send me one when they're released, and I'll be able to review it here on the channel. Rick Lake says, thank you, Carey. Very good video today. Thank you, Rick. Thanks for hanging out with us. Marsman50 says, I'm about Explorer. When I open my window, why do I see my flash drive twice? Or if I plug a second flash drive, I now have 2, I will see doubles. I don't know. I'd have to see what you're explaining. I don't know if you're looking at a quick access link. You can right click on the doubled one and it should be removed from quick access as an option to remove that. Jeff H says, hey, I ordered one of those Beeling GTR7s. I can't wait. Thanks for the heads up. I'm going to do a redo of the GTR7 review because we had that video output problem. And I also didn't like the storage drive. So I put in 2 of those fanging 2 terabyte drives. I was going to try and RAID 0 them together, but there doesn't seem to be a way to do that, unfortunately. But the drives run much, much faster at 7,000 plus megabytes per second versus the 5,000 of the cheap drive they put in. I was going to put a 4 terabyte drive in it, but when you have chips on the other side of the M.2, it won't sit flush and you can't screw it down. So that's a limitation on the GTR7. I'm going to demonstrate that in the video. And it's definitely a communication problem that I'm having from the video output. And I've always had this Camlink 4K USB capture device, which I totally forgot about. And when I use this and then add it to my OBS as a video source, it will see the GTR7 screen properly. But I will say, even the monitor I use, sometimes when I'm rebooting the GTR7, the monitor says the signal is out of sync and not compatible with the monitor. And in order to fix that, I have to unplug the HDMI cable from the back of the GTR7 and plug it back in again, and then it synchronizes okay. So there's something wonky happening with the video output. Appears to be something driver related. However, it could also be BIOS related. You know, B-Link leaves that BIOS wide open. They don't restrict it like a lot of other mini PC manufacturers do. And, you know, there's an advantage to that and a disadvantage to that. This is a brand new product, and I imagine there's going to be other people having issues similar to me. I'm just the first one, apparently. And I'm sure that as people complain, it'll add pressure for them to address it. Or the manufacturer of the chip may be the one that gets the blame from, you know, multiple manufacturers that utilize that chip, resulting in an updated driver or an updated BIOS. In the meantime, it does work. I'm going to have to use the USB capture card. No other computer I've ever used has ever had this problem. So it's not like it's okay. I don't think it's okay. I find it to be unacceptable, quite frankly. I don't think it's the capture card because I've never had any problem with anything else connecting to the capture card. So there's some communication issue with the HDMI cable. I also tried a different HDMI cable. So I've got a nice fresh install of Windows 11 Professional on the fanging 2 terabyte drive. I've got 2 of those installed. Looking in the BIOS to activate RAID 0 to make that thing really fast. There's no such RAID option. Somebody else was reviewing the GTR7 and mentioned putting this into RAID 0. I think they were speculating. There does not appear to be a way to do that. If you know of a way, please let me know in the comments below this video. But I will do a follow-up. I'm planning on doing a follow-up of the GTR7 tomorrow afternoon because I was really looking forward to this review. It is by far supposed to be my favorite mini PC. It does, all the specs are exactly what I want. Even the way it looks, the materials it's made out of, it's checking all my boxes. So what the heck with the video output? Why has it got to be that unit? Why couldn't it be one of the cheaper units? I'm hoping it's just a teething issue that will be resolved in time and that this is just what I get for being first. But the rest of the unit should be stellar. Once we get past that whole video issue, I expect everything should go really, really well. And using that fanging upgraded NVMe drive, that is going to make the drive, the I/O on this computer, about 40% faster. They really kind of crippled themselves by going with that cheaper NVMe drive. But in any event, yeah. The NAD 9 finally arrived, so I'll get that video maybe next Friday. It's a bare bones kit where I've got to put RAM and memory as well as an operating system on it. We'll make a video out of that maybe next Friday. And then other videos throughout the week as time permits. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you to my friends in blue, all my members. Thank you guys for being members and helping support what we do here. Thank you again to all the contributions that came in today. So starting with the most recent and working backwards, thank you, Frankie B. Thank you, Oystein, as always, for your generosity. Troll McTrollington, thank you for your super chat contribution. Acordius Technology, and another from Troll McTrollington, Garfield Rupe, Bebo, Another from K. Cordius Technology, Paul O'Brien, Ben Laird, Matthew Burden, who's renewed his membership for another month. He's at 13 months now. That's the most you can have so far. As did Bradley Morris, continued his membership into month 13. Thank you guys for that. Thank you to Larry Wood for your generous contribution in Super Chat. And of course, our good friend Buster, otherwise known as Peter Laycock. Patrick Manny extended his membership now to 13 months. Right on. Thank you to Rick Lakes and Ryan Winfull. Alaj Depej is now a member for 6 months. Thank you for your continued support of membership. Mark Gaines continues his membership into month 13. Thank you to Abdul Azim Patel for your contribution and extending your membership into month 13. You guys rock. You're amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Camera Girl. Thank you.
Marlena.
You want to be called Marlena? Okay, Camera Girl. Thank you to Camera Girl, who also did the amazing thumbnail in today's video and all the thumbnails you've been seeing. In fact, if it's a crappy thumbnail, it's probably because I did it. You'll be able to tell from now on. And who am I forgetting to thank? Probably forgetting somebody. But thank you to the people I'm forgetting to thank. That should cover it. That's going to wrap it up for us for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all hopefully tomorrow afternoon with a new review of the GTR 7 now that I've got it working. Until then, bye for now. Now I am looking for an outro.